Okay. The burglar's machination was to rob the store. Very good. All right, guys, what is pejorative? Pejorative. Negative effect. Okay, so this is an adjective. A pejorative, right? Pejorative. All right, so Tyler, he writes, Robert dropped out of his fourth period class because he got tired of hearing Jonah's pejorative remarks. So guys, use pejorative like you would derogatory, defamatory, right? All right, Logan. Pejorative, derogatory. Sure, yes. Yes. All right, Braden writes, a bully may make pejorative remarks. Very good. Grant writes, funerals usually have a pejorative on people's happiness. Yes, I'm just going to add the word, or they could say funerals are pejorative. Right? They are pejorative, or they have a pejorative effect on people's happiness. All right, Jonah, the pejorative remarks hurt the. Oh, that's okay. Man's feelings. Oh my goodness, what did I do? Man's. All right, and Caden, the basketball player, quit the team after hearing his teammates' pejorative remarks. Very good. And Zach writes, being sick has a pejorative effect on people. Very good. Okay, guys, I want to bring this up because this is something I'm seeing in your vocab test. And I didn't see it as much when I had the years past. I had handwritten tests. When you're writing something for basically at school, whenever you're turning something in and it's not just notes for yourself or a text to your buddy, it needs to be formal. It needs to be capitalized. It needs to be punctuated properly. That's just how it is. So spelling tests, I'm getting a lot of not capitalizing, no periods, and it's like what we need to make sure that we understand it needs to be that way. I haven't started taking off points yet. We're gonna discuss the English department if we need to start doing that. But just like how we correct things up here, your tests need to be like that. I need you to make sure you're revising your sentences to make sure they're perfect for show. And guys, again, that's in every class, no matter what you're doing. That is expected. Complete thought, complete sentences, periods, and capitalization. Okay, so those are our 2 words today, guys. So could we say that Grendel had a machination? What was his machination? Absolutely, to kill people. Would you say that Grendel is representative of the complete opposite of the honor code and everything that the Anglo-Saxons had? You know how they would meet very orderly. They would have their, they didn't go around harming, right? People killing for no reason. They had a system called, was it Weird Guild? That if they killed someone, they would give money based on that person's, which sounds awful, but on that person's worth. Grendel would not do that. All right, let's go ahead, guys. So we are looking at, I believe today, the last battle, which is the last section of Beowulf. And so we are going to read this. And I want to tell you, you're probably thinking, okay, what's next? When we finish this, we know we're going to have to write in our journal because I'll go ahead and show you a couple of the questions that you have. They're already posted. So I go to journal on my classwork and I can see my responses because we've already done response 1 under journal 3, response 2. We've done response 3 yesterday. In your opinion, are Grendel's actions more evil than his mother's? Why or why not? That's what we did yesterday. Would anybody like to share what they wrote? Because I skimmed through some of the journals, and a lot of you are doing your journals, but some people look like just not doing them at all. So I'm not so much this class, I'm probably preaching to the choir, but my bigger classes, guys, you need to do this. I know it says, well, she hasn't graded these yet. I'm going to do it. When I do it, it's going to be done. I'm going to look for all this, it's basically completion. Make sure that you responded to all these things. You're going to get the points. And the more we do on it, the more it's going to be worth. It's already at least 50 points worth right now. It's a lot of writing. That's a lot of thought and days in that. So, again, easy points as long as you do it. And do it as we go. Don't do it, so I'll do it later. Go ahead and knock it out here in class. All right, does anybody want to share with what they wrote about Grendel's actions being more evil than his mother's? I'd like to hear what you all said about that in your reasoning.
I put Grindel was more evil because he didn't really have a motive. He just went out and killed, but his mother like had a motive. Like she was trying to like avenge her son pretty much. So
Okay,
she had like somewhat of a motive.
okay,
You
so,
know, she killed for revenge. Yeah.
all right, so revenge, we can understand revenge, not saying that it was right, just saying that we can see that, and by doing that, she went and she got her son's shoulder back, kind of like, that was an act of what? That it belongs to me. You're not taking that. And then by taking the king's one, his best friend, I mean, it's terrible. We can somehow rationalize that more. The Grendel's just attack on humanity, just everybody never being satiated. All right, who else wants to share? I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying he backed up what he said, and I can see why you say that. Who else would like to share? You did? Okay. I looked at some and some. I think you said the mother. The mother was more. I don't. I want to hear what you have to say. If you want to share, let me really quickly. I've got to correct. I see that my other Abigail joined, and I've got Logan. I need to make sure that I've put that correctly on the attendance, guys. Hang on just 1 second. I've got to correct that. Okay.
And Miss Riggs, when you get the chance, can you check your email real quick? I sent you something.
I sure will. Now, Landon's not going to be here, in Sierra, guys. If they tune in and it's not 15 minutes past class time, I need to go back and change that. I'm really trying to watch and make sure I give credit to people who, when you're here, even if you're just a dab late. When I say dab, I mean like a minute or so. If it's under 15 minutes, you're considered present. So I will check my email. Actually, I should have waited on that. I'll check it right now. Anybody else considering sharing? Because that's how I wanted to open up class this morning or this afternoon. Okay. I got you. Okay, so we need to do a heavy review. Is what we need to do. That's what I'm gathering. My virtual people, sometimes they have tech issues. So what I want to do is just go through the journal questions, give y'all time again to kind of share with what you have. And as we do that, I want you to go ahead and if you haven't answered, I want you to go ahead and answer. Does that make sense? I'm not going to go back to Dr. Maslo's video. That's crazy. But when I go back to response 1, I just had us read the first 103 lines of the poem. Basically, that was setting up Grendel. They drop us in the middle of this epic poem because this is an excerpt. This is not the whole piece. And so Grendel's just angry. He's this angry, almost we think thoughtless monster who kills. He kills because he can't stand to hear them singing. And they're singing about God making the earth. All right, so that right there, we have a pagan, the opposite of God here, angry, not wanting to hear that anymore, and just for that reason going up and killing as many people in that mead hall as he can. Right? That mead hall was very special to them. That was their social place. They would go there. They would meet, ladies and gentlemen. They were a tough bunch, but they would go there and socialize. And so, going in there to the king's place, because that was supposed to be the safest place in the kingdom, was against everybody. Now we know the king was protected by God, so Grendel couldn't get the king, but others.
But they tried getting the devil to help after Grendel.
They did, and that's the pagan side, which we see the commingling. Thank you, Nick, of the Christian and the pagan here, and we think, how could they do that? And notice the writer, who was more than likely, we think, a monk, M-O-N-K, was writing saying, see, this is not good because if you don't have God, you don't have any hope. You have nothing. And we kind of get a little mini sermon there. It almost sounds like something you hear, at church on Sunday.
You don't have hope.
Right.
Get Jesus in your life.
Right. And that's what, so and then you have that. And so it's so interesting to see all this behavior mixed together. The drinking, the rough life, because it is, I can't show you the video, but that was their way of life. They lived there, had to be tough to survive. And so it just, I don't know, it shows that, but they had some of them were going to Christianity, and it shows that. All right, so response 1 is simply just, what do you think? It's you can basically write, I had some people say it reminds me of Skyrim. I had some people say, it makes me think of Star Wars, good and evil. There's really no wrong way to respond unless you just don't respond. I just want you to basically what I just told you, you're responding to that. What do you think of that? Okay, that's all number one is. All right, number two, after that point, we know that Beowulf, who lives, he's a geek, right? So he lives far away. He hears of this. It takes 12 years because this has been going on for 12 years. Grendel's killing the people. And so he travels to there, gets 14 of his best men. They show up at the Danes, and the soldier's very skeptical. He's like, hey, you know what are you doing? You're coming up so boldly here. And Beowulf tells them, he says, you need to go talk to the king. So Beowulf has to, how can I get permission from the king to go up against this monster? And he kind of proves him stuff. He says, I've done this. What did he do? What all did he do? He got a hold of giants,
Yeah,
changed them.
he like made the giants go extinct or whatever.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, man.
Gave his resume. I can do this. The king said, okay, I've had men who drank a lot of ale and said they can do it. And they weren't able to do it. They wanted them dead the next day. But he said, if you can do this for us, I'll give you a lot of riches. Because material possessions, this is the pagan side, was really big. Because they, when a king died, he'd want to be buried with all his riches and all his, gold and everything. So he said, I will give you, riches. You'll be great here if you can do this for us. So they give him a great big feast, celebrating kind of a pre-victory type dinner. And I had somebody in 5 say they shouldn't have done that because that's like, getting the cart before the horse. But they do that big dinner in that hall, and it's described so well you can see it, talking about the flask, the curved flask. And that's where we stopped and we said, let's select an image from those lines and let's write about it. Who'd like to share I forgot to ask who wanted to share with response 1. I'm going to share what they wrote with response 1, something that just, and they're short, they're like a sentence or two. Some people write 3 or 4 sentences, but it's not an essay. It's not you're just responding. Anybody want to share with what an image they chose?
I just said something about like the heavy religious influences it has, like talking about God and everything.
Good. So you're yes, pagan and Christian influence. There are many there. Good. All right. Did anybody write about his silver chainmail shining? Nobody picked that one. What about all the blood? Anybody write about that? Gory, all the gore? No. Well, what image did you guys pick?
I think nobody has pictures. I don't know.
Well, what did you care to share what you did?
I thought they were response 1. I think they lose faith easily because on the response in that 103 lines, they were taught, like you said, you were talking about God trying to get help.
Sure.
And they lost faith in Him and tried to get help from the devil, from the God, other gods, and everything like that.
That's a big.
So I think they just lose faith easily.
What a great point. Wow. Yes. That's an excellent point. That's for response 1. They did. They seemed kind of almost wishy-washy, like, well, they, just trying everything, right? Excellent. Any other comments on 1 or 2? I'm giving people time who have technology problems to get caught up as we're talking and reviewing about the poem. All right, so he goes into Battle Grendel. There's a plan. What is the plan that Beowulf has? I'm not using weapons. Here we talk about honor here, right? Because Grendel doesn't use weapons. Higlath would think less of me if I did. I can't use weapons. So he says, let's go in there and let's sleep. Sleep in the mead hall. Beowulf doesn't go to sleep, though. The other guys do. So Grendel comes in, and what happens? He grabs the first geek, eats him, it's gone, right? He grabs on to the second, and what does he feel?
So like you feel like you grab on the table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beowulf grabs him.
Yeah.
And
And like squeezes it.
he for the first time, Grendel feels pain. He's scared. He wants to run away. Never felt that before. And I love the way that we're able. This is written in such a way. The point of view was not first person. It's not second person. It doesn't talk to us. What it's third person omniscient. We can get in their minds and see he's hurting. He wants to run away. So they have a battle. The mead hall's really strong, and he basically tears his arm off, which is a fatal, I guess, dismemberment. And he goes back to his drips back to his moor there to die. And so Beowulf hangs the shoulder over in the mead hall to show, look, this isn't a problem anymore. Look at this, and hangs it up there. What an image there to write about that hanging there. All right, then what happened? So then we got, we're almost caught up, guys. The mother, Grendel's, who's not named, it's Grendel's mom, right? Her mother. She finds out, and to get revenge, she comes up and she kills one of Hrothgar's best friends, and she takes the arm back, right? Revenge. You all said, most of you agreed that we can agree with that. Although I did read a few that said, which I think is interesting, that the mother, that was no way to act. I mean, two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, it didn't bring her son back, right? Is somebody virtual speaking? But I heard somebody. Okay. So she does that. Then Beowulf says, okay, I've got to go down. I've got to dive down. It takes him how long to get to the bottom of that thing? Is it hours? Hours in the water. So he gets there. It's like a battlefield. She gets him in her claws, and then other sea beasts she has start biting. So it's not a fair fight. He's being attacked by all these different monsters and her. They're biting his helmet. They're getting through to it. He can't ever wear it again. His sword, Runting, does him no good, right? Oh, because what? Would the weapons work on her? They wouldn't work on Grendel, would they? So what does he finally have to do? She sits on him. We think that this is it. He's going to go down. But what does he do? And she's stabbing him. The only thing that saves him is his mail shirt, right? That strong mail shirt. Can't get through that. So he sees, what does he see on the wall of her? Sword. It was made for her by giants, right? And so he gets it down. He's able to kill her. Kills her with her own sword, which is ironic. But he's not really satisfied then. He's still, what, angry? Wants revenge. Doesn't do this so much for glory. He's already killed Grendel. But he goes and he cuts his head off. He cuts Grendel's head off. And he takes that and the hilt of the sword, because I think the actual sword melts.
Yeah,
Right. So he takes the jeweled, the hilt and the head, which has got to be heavy. We know it goes back up, carrying all that back up and swimming. I say carrying, he's going back up to that. And it takes how many guys to carry Grendel's head? 4, 2 on each side, right? Like a little shish kebab. They carry his head. And so I love it because they said it was an ugly load and the people just stared. And I bet they did stare. And I bet it was an ugly load, right? Because look what he's done. I took care of her. Here's his head. There we go. And that's as far as we've gotten there. Okay, was this helpful to everybody? I know that you all, my people who've been absent, really needed it. Are y'all doing okay? Was that helpful? Are y'all ready to start reading the final part? Okay, I'm going to go ahead. If we're all ready, everybody's giving me the go. We just know that we're going to have to answer after this, 4 and 5. We're going to have to be looking for examples of foreshadowing that we notice. Again, what is foreshadowing?
like telling you, like,
Yes, hints. It's basically hints of things to come, right? You're going to need to give me an example of that. So look for foreshadowing. You're also going to discuss the magnitude of Beowulf's reaction as he's spotting the dragon. All right, so let's wait on that. I don't want to give too much away.
dragon?
There's a dragon. Okay, are we ready to go? Beowulf's last battle. Here we go, guys.
Part 6, Beowulf's Last Battle. With Grendel's mother destroyed, peace is restored to the land of the Danes, and Beowulf, laden with Hrothgar's gifts, returns to the land of his own people, the Geats. After his uncle and cousin die, Beowulf becomes king of the Geats and rules in peace and prosperity for 50 years. One day, however, a fire-breathing dragon that has been guarding a treasure for hundreds of years is disturbed by a thief who enters the treasure tower and steals a cup. The dragon begins terrorizing the Geats, and Beowulf, now an old man, takes on the challenge of fighting it.
Okay, I want to pause for just a minute. Let's do some math really fast. Beowulf would have to be at least your age when he went and helped the Danes. Now that's 50, because he's been king over this land for 50 years. He's at least how old? Yeah, 70. Yeah, he's old. I just want to make sure y'all understood that. Now the rest of this goes pretty fast, so make sure you understand you're following what happens, how this dragon is awakened. There's a little story there.
I think it's been-
It is, and I'm so sorry. Here we go.
And Beowulf uttered his final boast. I've never known fear. As a youth, I fought in endless battles. I am old now, but I will fight again, seek fame still, if the dragon hiding in his tower dares to face me. Then he said farewell to his followers, each in his turn for the last time. I'd use no sword, no weapon if this beast could be killed without it, crushed to death like Grendel, gripped in my hands and torn limb from limb. But his breath will be burning, hot poison will pour from his tongue. I feel no shame, with shield and sword and armor against this monster. When he comes to me, I mean to stand, not run from his shooting flames, stand till fate decides which of us wins. His heart is firm, my hands calm, I need no hot words. Wait for me close by, my friends. We shall see soon who will survive this bloody battle. Stand when the fighting is done. No one else could do what I mean to. Here, no man but me could hope to defeat this monster. No one could try. And this dragon's treasure, his gold, and everything hidden in that tower will be mine, or war will sweep me to a bitter death. Then Beowulf rose, still brave, still strong, and with his shield at his side and a mail shirt on his breast, strode calmly, confidently toward the tower, under the rocky cliffs. No coward could have walked there. And then he who'd endured dozens of desperate battles, who'd stood boldly while swords and shields clashed, the best of kings saw huge stone arches and felt the heat of the dragon's breath flooding down through the hidden entrance, too hot for anyone to stand, a streaming current of fire and smoke that blocked all passage. And the Geats' lord and leader, angry, lowered his sword and roared out a battle cry, a call so loud and clear that it reached through the hoary rock, hung in the dragon's ear. The beast rose, angry, knowing a man had come, and then nothing but war could have followed. Its breath came first, a streaming cloud pouring from the stone. Then the earth itself shook. Beowulf swung his shield into place, held it in front of him facing the entrance. The dragon coiled and uncoiled, its heart urging it into battle. Beowulf's ancient sword was waiting, unsheathed, his sharp and gleaming blade. The beast came closer. Both of them were ready, each set on slaughter. The Geats' great prince stood firm, unmoving, prepared, behind his high shield, waiting in his shining armor. The monster came quickly toward him, pouring out fire and smoke, hurrying to its fate. Flames beat at the iron shield, and for a time it held, protected Beowulf as he planned. Then it began to melt, and for the first time in his life, the famous prince fought with fate against him, with glory denied him. He knew it, but he raised his sword and struck at the dragon's scaly hide. The ancient blade broke, bit into the monster's skin, drew blood, but cracked and failed him before it went deep enough, helped him less than he needed. The dragon leaped with pain, thrashed and beat at him, sprouting murderous flames, spreading them everywhere. And the Geats' ring-giver did not boast of glorious victories in other wars. His weapon had failed him, deserted him now when he needed it most. That excellent sword. And Aegisthus' famous son stared at death, unwilling to leave his world, to exchange it for a dwelling in some distant place, a journey into darkness that all men must make as death ends their few brief hours on earth. Quickly the dragon came at him, encouraged as Beowulf fell back. Its breath flamed and he suffered, wrapped around in swirling flames, a king before, but now a beaten warrior. None of his comrades came to him, helped him, his brave and noble followers. They ran for their lives, fled deep in a wood, and only one of them remained, stood there, miserable, remembering as a good man must what kinship should mean.
Okay, really fast. Why is that such a big deal that all his men, what are they supposed to do? Absolutely. That was the, what was that called? Comitatus? I give you things, you swear your fidelity to me, and they're doing just the opposite of that, except for how many? One. Wiglock.
Well, you stood there miserably.
Okay, yes, no.
As a good man.
Now, I have to tell you, this translation, this is what they've chosen in our textbook. Yes, sir. Did you have your hand up? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. In our textbook, it goes into history of how the dragon was awakened. So let me give you a little bit more than that because it's so interesting. All right. So apparently, there was someone who had a slave, and the slave made the master mad, and so he escapes. And he runs, and he actually goes into this cave, and he sees all this beautiful treasure, and he goes and picks it up. And as he's picking it up, he notices he hears the dragon. He didn't know it was in there. He awakens, and so he starts backing up and runs with the cup, not meaning to steal it, but just it's in his hands, and the dragon's awakened. So he goes back to his master. His master's appeased, happy with this treasure, this cup. But the dragon, because he's been awakened, is now going to take revenge on the Geats. So he's just tormenting, burning out Geatland for this. He really can't enjoy the treasure. He can't take it and do anything with it, but that's his job to guard it. And then he was awakened and something was stolen, and he's angry. So we have this new beast. That's a little history. And now his men are leading him. So here we go. I just wanted to stop and make sure we have emphasis on that. Again, we're looking for foreshadowing. I think we've got plenty of it. We've already had plenty of it. Have y'all picked on some? The foreshadowing? No?
Yes.
Okay, well, maybe keep reading for it. Again, hints of what's going to happen is foreshadowing. Well, I have to click on that one
Years
spot.
is disturbed by a thief who enters the treasure tower and steals the cup. The dragon begins terrorizing the Geats, and Beowulf, now an old man, takes on the challenge of fighting it.
Oh, what, did I go back?
And
Oh,
Beowulf,
no, I didn't mean to. Oh, okay, so like 4 minutes to this?
Yeah, we're like 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I don't know.
Dwelling in some distant place, a journey into darkness that all men must make as death ends their few
There we go.
brief hours on earth.
That's some foreshadowing.
Quickly the dragon came at him, encouraged as Beowulf fell back. Its breath flamed and he suffered, wrapped around in swirling flames, a king before, but now a beaten warrior. None of his comrades came to him, helped him, his brave and noble followers. They ran for their lives, fled deep in a wood, and only one of them remained, stood there miserable, remembering as a good man must what kingship should mean. His name was Wiglaf. He was Wexton's son and a good soldier. His family had been Swedish once. Watching Beowulf, he could see how his king was suffering, burning, remembering everything his lord and cousin had given him, armor and gold and the great estates Wexton's family enjoyed. Wiglaf's mind was made up. He raised his yellow shield and drew his sword. Then Wiglaf, his heart heavy, uttered the kind of words his comrades deserved. I remember how we sat in the mead hall drinking and boasting of how brave we'd be when Beowulf needed us. He who gave us these swords and armors, all of us swore to repay him when the time came, kindness for kindness, with our lives if he needed them. He allowed us to join him, chose us from all his great army, thinking our boasting words had some weight, believing our promises, trusting our swords. He took us for soldiers, for men. He meant to kill this monster himself. Our mighty king fight this battle alone and unaided, as in the days when his strength and daring dazzled men's eyes. But those days are over and gone, and now our Lord must lean on younger arms. And we must go to him while angry flames burn at his flesh, help our glorious king. By Almighty God, I'd rather burn myself than see flames swirling about my Lord. And who are we to carry home our shield before we've slain his enemy and ours? To run back to our homes with Beowulf so hard-pressed here? I swear that nothing he ever did deserved an end like this, dying miserably and alone, butchered by this savage beast. We swore these words and armor were each for us all.
Oh, okay. So he gives him a really good tongue lashing, or I think I used our word, a censuring. And do y'all think they deserved it? For sure. I mean, absolutely. And I believe in our text in the book that we're not going to read, he calls them shamefaced jackals. He said it would be better for you to have died than for you to do this and then have to live with this kind of embarrassment for the rest of your lives. You've ruined your family's name by doing this, right? And that was everything. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start the last part. I think we got 10 minutes until tech time. So I'll go ahead and do this one.
Parts 7 and 8, the death and mourning of Beowulf. Wiglaf joins Beowulf, who again attacks the dragon single-handed, but the remnant of his sword shatters, and the monster wounds him in the neck. Wiglaf then strikes again, and he and Beowulf together finally succeed in killing the beast. Their triumph is short-lived, however, because Beowulf's wound proves to be mortal. Beowulf spoke, in spite of the swollen, livid wound, knowing he'd unwound his string of days on earth. Seeing as much as God would grant him, all worldly pleasure was gone, as life would go soon. I'd leave my armor to my son now if God had given me an heir, a child born of my body, his life created from mine. I've worn this crown for 50 winters. No neighboring people have tried to threaten the Geats, sent soldiers against us, or talked of terror. My days have gone by as fate willed, waiting for its word to be spoken, ruling as well as I knew how, swearing no unholy oaths, seeking no lying wars. I can leave this life happy. I can die here knowing the Lord of all life has never watched me wash my sword in blood born of my own family. Beloved Wiglaf, go, quickly, find the dragon's treasure. We've taken its life, but its gold is ours too. Hurry, bring me ancient silver, precious jewels, shining armor, and gems before I die. Death will be softer, leaving life and all this people I've ruled. So long if I look at last of all these prizes. Then Wekstan's son went in, as quickly as he could, did as the dying Beowulf asked, entered the inner darkness of the tower, went with his mail shirt and his sword. Flushed with victory, he groped his way, a brave young warrior. Then suddenly saw piles of gleaming gold, precious gems scattered on the floor, cups and bracelets, rusty old helmets, beautifully made but rotting with no hands to rub and polish them. They lay where the dragon had left them. It had flown in the darkness once before fighting its final battle. So gold can easily triumph, defeat the strongest of men, no matter how deep it is hidden. And he saw, hanging high above, a golden banner woven by the best of weavers and beautiful. And over everything he saw a strange light shining everywhere, on walls and floor and treasure. Nothing moved. No other monsters appeared. He took what he wanted, all the treasures that pleased the eye. Heavy plates and golden cups and the glorious banner loaded in his arms with all they could hold. Beowulf's dagger, his iron blade, had finished the fire-spitting terror that once protected tower and treasures alike. The gray-bearded lord of the Geats had ended those flying, birding raids forever. Then Wiglaf went back, anxious to return while Beowulf was alive, to bring him treasure they'd won together. He ran, hoping his wounded king, weak and dying, had not left the world too soon. Then he brought their treasure to Beowulf, and found his famous king bloody, gasping for breath. But Wiglaf sprinkled water over his lord, until the words deep in his breast broke through and were heard. Beholding the treasure, he spoke haltingly. For this gold, these jewels, I thank our Father in heaven, ruler of the earth. For all of this that his grace has given me, allowed me to bring my people while breath still came to my lips. I sold my life for this treasure, and I sold it well. Take what I leave, Wiglaf. Lead my people, help them, my time is gone. Have the brave Geats build me a tomb, and when the funeral flames have burned me, and build it here at the water's edge, high on this spit of land, so sailors can see this tower, and remember my name, and call it Beowulf's Tower, and boasts in the darkness and mist crossing the sea will know it. Then the brave king gave the golden necklace from around his throat to Wiglaf, gave him his gold-covered helmet and his rings and his mail shirt, and ordered him to use them well. You're the last of all our far-flung family. Fate has swept our race away, taken warriors and their strength and led them to death that was waiting, and now I follow them. The old man's mouth was silent, spoke no more, had said as much as it could. He would sleep in the fire soon. His soul left his flesh and flew to glory. And when the battle was over, Beowulf's followers came out of the wood, cowards and traitors, knowing the dragon was dead, afraid while it spit its fires to fight the Lord's defense, to throw their javelins and spears. They came like shamefaced jackals, their shields in their hands, to the place where the prince lay dead and waited for Wiglaf to speak. He was sitting near Beowulf's body, wearily sprinkling water on the dead man's face, trying to stir him, but he could not. No one could have kept life in their Lord's body or turned aside the Lord's will. World and men and all move as he does, and always have and always will. Then Wiglaf turned and angrily told them what men without courage must hear. Wekstan's brave son stared at the traitors, his heart sorrowful, and he said what he had to. I say what anyone who speaks the truth must say. Too few of his warriors remembered to come when our Lord faced death alone. And now the giving of swords, of golden rings and rich estates is over, ended for you and everyone who shares your blood. When the brave Geats hear how you bolted and ran, none of your race will have anything left but their lives, and death would be better for them all, and for you than the kind of life you can lead, branded with disgrace. Then the warriors rose, walked slowly down from the cliff, stared at those wonderful sights, stood weeping as they saw Beowulf dead on the sand, their bold ring-giver resting in his last bed. He'd reached the end of his days, their mighty war king, the great lord of the Geats, gone to a glorious death. Mourning Beowulf. Then the Geats built the tower, as Beowulf had asked, strong and tall, so sailors could find it from far and wide. Working for 10 long days, they made his monument, sealed his ashes in walls as straight and high as wise and willing hands could raise them. And the riches he and Wiglaf had won from the dragon, rings, necklaces, ancient hammered armor, all the treasures they'd taken were left there too. Silver and jewels buried in the sandy ground, back in the earth, again forever hidden and useless to men. And then 12 of the bravest Geats rode their horses around the tower, telling their sorrow, telling stories of their dead king and his greatness, his glory, praising him for heroic deeds, for a life as noble as his name. So should all men raise up words for their lords, warm with love, when their shield and protector leaves his body behind, sends his soul on high. And so Beowulf's followers rode, mourning their beloved leader, crying that no better king had ever lived, no prince so mild, no man so open to his people, so deserving of praise.
All right. So guys, we've got about just a couple minutes until tech time. Go ahead and start on your response 4 and 5. And if you want to just do a couple minutes and then have tech time, that's fine. I'll give you just a little bit of time tomorrow to do 4 and 5, maybe like 5 minutes. So go ahead and do that. And then tomorrow there is like a couple of little small, I know we watched a lot of podcasts, but these are actual documentaries. One's 15 minutes and the other's like, I think like 9 or 10 minutes. So I thought we would watch those tomorrow. And then Thursday and Friday, we'll do something with Beowulf. I'm still looking to kind of see what I want to do since we're in this situation with virtual. Yes, sir.
What was the title of like the very first one we read?
It was, I think it was Grendel.
No, I'm talking about the one today, the very first one today that we read.
Oh, the first one we read today.
Beowulf's last battle.
Yes. Beowulf's last battle. Yeah. Thank you. If y'all have any questions, let me know, and I'll just, that's all I have. I'm going to go ahead and stop filming today, stop recording, but I will leave my